Today we answer an age-old question. Is there such a thing as luck in chess? Fight in the comments, argue, debate in the comments. I am of the school of thought that there is such a thing. There is luck in chess. There's not a lot of luck in chess, not as much as any other sport on earth, but there is some luck. Some people absolutely will fight to their death and say that there is no luck in chess. Hopefully this game proves you otherwise. This is the scariest opponent you can meet over the chessboard. I was playing Simon Reinhard, a two-time memory world chess champion. He has the best memory in the world. And this guy learned for fun, I discovered in an article, learned for fun 100 moves of Najdorf theory. So Sicilian Najdorf, this. He learned 100 moves, so 200 moves total, 100 moves of each side, in 20 minutes for fun on a given day. He said this in an article. So he starts off e4. I go e5. And by the way, as if it's not more insult to injury, this guy has played like 4 tournaments and is already 2100. In his 4 tournaments, I could find like only 3 games of his with white, which is just like not fair. Like you should have more games to prep against if you're 2165. I was like angry, sad, and depressed the night before my game at 5 a.m. Good thing it was around at 6 p.m. But anyways, what I prepped was, he had 1 game with bishop b5, so I knew he played the Spanish. What I prepped was the least theoretical opening against bishop b5, because think of it, he has the best memory in the world. So he knows everything against a6, and by the way, there are so many things against a6, but this is the most theoretical opening in chess, probably, the Lopez. So if he's memorized everything, I have to get him immediately out of his comfort zone. So I didn't play a6, which is the first best move. I didn't play knight f6, which is the second most popular move. I played what you might very well know that I play by now, this dubious f5 move, which is the Danish gambit or the Schliemann gambit. Now, I've played this with good times and bad times, escaping some bad ones. I've played this against a GM once. That video will be up here. And throughout all of these games, what I realized is that I do not want to play this that much more anymore over the board, because against a well-prepared opponent, this is pretty much dubious. This is what he proved to me today. d3 is what he played, which is the best move. I take, and now I play knight f6, castles, and now I go for d6. I have played only bishop c5, so this is, think about it, prep on an irregular move. I'm getting closer and closer to out of his memory and theoretical preparation. So we're inching closer. Only on move 6, I did my best possible to get out of his theory opening knowledge. So now he goes bishop c4, preventing me from castling in the future. And this is what the grandmaster played against me back in Sevilla with the white pieces. I go bishop g4, pinning his knight to this queen, and basically saying, look, I'm castling long, so h3, I go back with my bishop. If I go bishop d7, I take up the square of my queen. So now my opponent goes knight c3, develops nicely. He took 28 minutes for this move, 28 minutes. So this move right here was a huge achievement. He took 1/3 of his time. And that told me that he was out of his memory opening preparation. So now his biggest asset that he has for him, strategically speaking, is gone. And now we can play a real chess game. Now there's no psychological burden of everything. And that's what I think I accomplished best out of this game, is play the man for the man. Know thy enemy, you know? So queen d7, pardon, bishop e3, and now I go h6. I don't know why I played it actually. h6. Oh, I want to castle and attack the white pieces with g5, g4. Pardon me. So h6 is a waiting move. I didn't want to castle immediately. I wanted to feel the waters. So knight d5. And here this gives a pawn, but you have to calculate deeply in, and this probably doesn't work. But however, I got hooked on only looking at this, even though castles is completely fine and black is equalizing, almost. Small edge for white. So I calculate, and convince myself somehow that this is fine. Although on knight takes c5, which I did look at, bishop takes d1, knight takes d7. This is called a desperado in chess. It's a type of chess tactic. And here, I was planning on saving my bishop But then I completely forgot that there's knight takes f8. And if I take with my rook, I just lose to a fork. And if I take with my king, I just lose a pawn outright. And then this is falling and the position's gone. So here I have to take the knight. And then after rook takes, my pieces are not that well placed and his are extremely well placed. Like every piece is on its best square here, except for this rook. And none of these pieces are on their best squares, which is kind of crazy to think about. So white has a large positional advantage. Knight e5 attacking a bishop, bishop back, and now I go c6. The knight goes to f4, and then I go bishop e7. This is a slight mistake, although the threats here are ramping up. I was very scared in particular about a number of things. First of all, black doesn't have many moves. So let's say I make a knight move, already this loses to bishop g4, and the knight comes in. Like, it's really fragile position. If my knight goes back, bishop d4, which was played in the game anyways. If I do a king move, which is what I really wanted to do, there's knight e6, and I think this is good for white. I'm not sure. So I went with bishop e7. I want to just like develop my bishop quickly. Bishop d4 threatening my knight because this is pinned. And then I go bishop here, and now rook e1. I wanted to get my king out of the way, but I didn't like this line. Oh, and it's fine. Oh, this line is fine. Beats me. I went rook he8, and now after bishop h5, I realize I blundered. For the second game in a row, I'm playing not good chess. And that's saying something because I've had a really good record this tournament. I am undefeated for 5 games in a row. Bishop h5 attacks my rook, attacks my knight. This is a complete blunder. So I attack this bishop back, and after knight takes, I have to like just give a pawn and assume a worse position. I go back with my knight to mitigate the risks of this discovered attack, and now rook takes e4. So rook takes e4, sacking a rook, taking off the defender from my bishop, and after rook takes, you just take 2 pieces for the rook, and white is already up a pawn, and now white has like a 3-on-1 on this side of the board, so black is completely finished. And so I'll spare you the details. I played just my best moves possible. I had 1 minute on the clock. My opponent had 18 minutes on the clock. So I just played extremely fast and hoped for the best. And now we end up in this endgame in which I'm completely lost. Like white will make like a pass pawn or something like this. And I'll effectively lose after the pawn concretizes itself. So I just play my best chess. I just go good rook move, trying to freeze these pieces. I'm trying to get this king up and play my 4-on-3 majority on this queen side. And after king e3, I go king d6, preparing c5 maybe. On one day, if g4 happens, I have maybe e4 things. So my opponent goes for a quick g4. And I'm thinking for these d4 things on my own, but there's like king e4 here, so I didn't love this. So instead, here I prepare a little trick. I go like rook f7. And here I'm threatening check, king here, and then maybe c5, and then again checks here. And he sees this d4 threat, and he immediately, with 13 minutes on the clock, goes with this c3 blunder. And you've seen the eval bar on the left of your screen. Right away I see a tactic that draws the game for me, and I have 1 minute on the clock. I go rook e7 check. We're hitting move 40 very soon. So he goes king here. And then I go rook f7 on move 40. I offer him a draw. I offer a draw. And I get up of my chair on move 40 so I won't flag on time. And this is a draw. And my opponent is outraged at his blunder. White cannot defend this position without repeating moves with me. This is a skewer. And that's sponsored by this move g4 that undefends this knight. But there are other ways, like if the king is on g3, this is completely fine. But just because this king is defending on an open file, and that I get to force the king off of said file, the king can go to d2, go to d3, but at the end of the day, this king has to meet rook f7 with king e3, and he thinks for all of his time in this position, he told me he tried to look at sacking the exchange, which you should do. I mean, if there is a way out of this that retains even a slight advantage, you should go for it as white. But after a few moves, we agree on a draw. And I don't know how he took it. I think he didn't take it well. But I told him after the game, I said to him in all candor, like very, very honestly, I go, and I'm trying to be as kind as possible, and I know he's mad, but I went, you did a good thing. Like, that's what I told him. You did a good thing taking the draw, because if I'm being very, very brutally honest here, I think many, many players would have that tilted kind of rage and go for a loss, essentially. Like, try to punish themselves unconsciously and go for a loss and try to force something that is completely losing. And I think White made the right decision. That being said, I got super lucky this game. That is nothing but luck. This marks 6 games in a row of me being undefeated in this tournament. 5 games in a row I have drawn. I finished the tournament with 4.5 out of 9, which is 50%. It's not insane. But I only lost 2 games. This is the only tournament since my comeback to chess that I've lost 2 games in a 9-round format, which is a pretty big achievement. That's number 1. Number 2, I've gained 23 points out of this tournament because everyone I played against in those draws were 2100 plus. So I was gaining essentially like 5 points every game that I was drawing there. So that totaled for a lot of points. And so all in all, I'm pretty happy with my performance here. I've gained 23 points and we jump to 2058. My next tournament is being played at the moment that you are seeing this video in France, unlocking a new country, and those recaps are coming soon. Please like the video. Thank you so much for watching and sub for more of these in the future. Cheers.